From the snow-covered peaks in Nepal to the mystical jungles of Peru to the desert sands of Cairo and snake-infested tombs deep beneath an ancient city. Rare Collectibles TV has been long searching for lost treasures.
The things I do to find nice coins.
Rare treasures that have been hidden away in sealed tombs for thousands of years. These riches have been long forgotten, only to resurface today. A king's fortune in rare coins at prices not seen since King Tut ruled the lands. An incredible deal that came to be known as the hunt for the Proof 69 Ultra Cameo Holy Grail.
These are the coins, let me put it this way, these are the coins that really got me started in cameo proof coinage, where I became a specialist back in the early 1980s. And that got me going on my first book, which I began in the mid-1980s. Took me about 5 years, just about 5 years to complete cameo brilliant proof coinage. I had thought that all the early proofs, the Franklin proofs, early Kennedy proofs were what we call brilliant proofs. They didn't have any cameo contrast. I thought they were all brilliant proofs like this 1958 that you see here. There was no cameo contrast. But then I came across a Franklin, and it wasn't a 58, but it was a 62, but it looked like this. It had phenomenal cameo contrast, like a modern proof. Now, all the modern proofs since about the late 1970s, let's say 1977 on, that's what I call the beginning of the modern era, when all the proofs struck were basically ultra cameo proofs. Now, the Mint goes to a lot of work to create this kind of cameo contrast. Earlier on, they sandblasted the dies during this 1986 era. Nowadays, they even laser etch the portrait to create an intense cameo effect. And they have very advanced technology to create these stunning cameo proof coins. So we're in the era where I call it the era of the modern proof, which began in 1977, where the Mint had pretty much perfected the technology of making coins with exceptional ultra cameo contrast. Because before 1977, they hadn't perfected that technology. In fact, this 1958 you see, it's a Proof 69 star. Now, why is it just a star? Well, because when you flip it over, the reverse has no contrast. Now, how come the obverse is so cameo and the reverse has no contrast? Well, in this earlier era, and I'm talking about the mid-1970s and earlier, the technology used to make cameo proofs hadn't changed much since the 1800s. And this is something I learned while researching my first book. I interviewed many of the personnel that used to work at the Philadelphia Mint in the proof-making facility. And one of the gentlemen by the name of Don Weaver, he started out at the Philadelphia Mint in the proof facility back in the late 50s as a general helper, became a press operator. Eventually, he was the chief of the coining division. I interviewed him during that time when he was the chief of the coining division. And I asked him, Don, how did they make cameo proofs back then? And he explained to me, and he was so sweet. We had many long conversations over the phone. He said, Rick, what we did back then, we called it pickling the die. And what we would do is we would take a bath of 95% alcohol, 5% nitric acid. We'd take the dye and we'd dip it in that acid bath. And that acid would frost the entire surface of the die, create this acid-etched frost, this white frost. And then we'd put the die on a lathe, on a buffing wheel, and the buffing wheel would polish the fields of the coin until they had a mirror-like finish. Now, the portrait of the coin was recessed, so it didn't receive any of that buffing treatment. it would retain its acid-etched cameo effect. So when we put that die in place, those first strikes off that die would have that acid-etched cameo effect transferred to the coin blank. Now there's two things. Number one, that acid-etched cameo effect was very delicate. They struck these coins using about 200 tons of pressure, and each proof was double struck. And these delicate acid-etched cameo dies would wear very, very quickly. And before long, the coins would go from being an Ultra Cameo to a Cameo with lighter contrast to no contrast at all. That's number one. Number two, the obverse and reverse dies wore at different rates. And back then, in order to economize, they only changed that half of the die pair that was fully worn. So you would have an obverse-reverse die pair, and maybe the reverse was fully worn, or the obverse was fully worn in this case, so they replaced it with a brand new obverse cameo die. But the reverse die that has been used for a couple thousand strikes, they were still using. So you had a coin with a brand new obverse cameo die, but a used, worn reverse cameo die, so you had these one-sided cameos. So getting a two-sided Ultra Cameo coin from this era, they're very rare, folks. They're very rare. For us cameo collectors, because of their beauty, their quality, their rarity, the eye appeal, the whole package, and their affordability, this is what's incentivized me and so many cameo collectors over the decades. And this is why we're coming out with a brand new, that'll be fully revised edition of Cameo and Brilliant Proof coinage that's going to cover cameo proofs from 1858 to the present. And it's going to have the latest population numbers. It's going to have all the up-to-date information. But for today, what I have for you, I call the coins I have for you, well, this is the Holy Grail. The absolute Holy Grail. When we're talking about 1972 and earlier proof coinage, the Holy Grail of this earlier proof coinage is the Proof 69 Ultra Cameo. That's the ultimate grade you could ever hope to get from this earlier era. There are no Proof 70 Ultra Cameos. In fact, getting an Ultra Cameo in any grade for these years can be extremely challenging. I have very limited quantities of these coins, folks. On the top couple rows, I have two 1956s in Proof 69 Ultra Cameo. And then I have four 1956 Franklins off a top die that's listed in the Cameo book. It's die number RT31. Now, because it's off a top die, it's called a top die because it has more cameo contrast than, for example, that previous 1956 you saw that was not struck from a top die. These have just sensational ultimate cameo contrast. And they're valued much higher in the NGC registry than a 1956 and 69 Ultra that's not from a top die. And I happen to have four examples off this phenomenal die. The next coin I have, and I only have one of these, a 1962 in Proof 69 Ultra Cameo. That's just a phenomenal, phenomenal Ultra Cameo. Then I have a 1963, and then we have three 1964s. And then we go to the second row. I've got 9 1969s in Proof 69 Ultra Cameo. These are all signature series coins, folks, meaning they meet my highest standards for exceptional cameo contrast for the date and grade. Means I'm looking for the absolute best. I'm not just looking for the grade on the holder. I want that coin to be at the upper end of the spectrum for the grade on the holder. So you take this 1969, that's my signature series coin, and you compare it to a non-signature series coin, folks. That's a pretty stunning difference. Eye appeal is everything. That's the beauty of cameo proof coins. You don't have to be a grading expert to look at the two coins and say, hey, yeah, that coin on the left, that thing is really frosted. That thing really stands out. Wow, that thing really pops. That's stunning. That's what these coins are all about. And then I have three 1971s in 69 Ultra Cameo, extremely rare. Two are on display. And then the last date I have in 69 Ultra Cameo, we have a couple dozen 1972s in 69 Ultra Cameo. Not as rare as the 71. In 72, they started improving their cameo proof-making technology. So there's more 72s than there are 71s. And finally, on this last row, I've got some 1978s in Proof 70 Ultra Cameo. Now again, this is when we get into the modern era. There are no Proof 70 Ultra Cameos issued by NGC before 1973. They don't exist. 1978 is a very early year for the Proof 70 Ultra Cameo, but these coins are not as rare in this grade as any of those 6.9 Ultra Cameos I just showed you, but they are very scarce. To give you an idea of the rarity of these early proofs in Ultra Cameo condition, here's a chart I put together. These are all grades of Ultra Cameo, Proof 60 to Proof 69 graded by NGC up until early June. Goes back to the early 1990s when they first began grading these coins for Ultra Cameo. And this is all grades. You can see there for the 1950 Franklin, they've only graded 30 examples in all grades. The Washington Quarter, only 12. Jefferson Nickel, only 9. The Lincoln Cent there, 92. That's a higher number, but that's all grades. And this is, folks, this is dealers and collectors looking through proof sets at every show. And if they ever see a cameo in any one of these proof sets, it immediately gets submitted for grading because these coins are very, very valuable. So at this point in time, most of the really nice proof sets have been cherry-picked for the cameos. So the numbers you're looking at represent the majority of coins that exist. But after 30 plus years, you can see how rare so many of these dates are. Now this is all grades of Ultra Cameo. Now we get to the second chart, which is just the Proof 69 Ultra Cameos. And that's what I have today. And then you see a lot of zeros and ones and twos, dates where none have been graded in 6.9 Ultra Cameo, or one coin, or two coins, or three or four. The accented hair, 5 coins in 6.9 Ultra Cameo. For those SMS coins, a lot of them have zeros. In fact, to put it in perspective, as you can imagine, I have a tremendous inventory of proof coins from 1950 to the early 1970s. I probably got over 10,000 proof coins in inventory. And I'm always looking for the finest, the very finest proof coins from this era. As far as coins in Proof 69 Ultra Cameo from 1950 to 1971, out of all the thousands and thousands of coins, and I'm always on the lookout for the very finest proof coins, I believe I have fewer than 100 coins from this era in Proof 69 Ultra Cameo. Now, my collector friends, here's something. This is the only box I've ever had. This is an original box of 1955 proof sets, of 100 1955 proof sets that are still sealed. I've never had anything like this in my life. Something like this, these are so rare nowadays. As I said, most of the proof sets have been picked through, they've been cut open, and if there's a cameo in there, they've been submitted for grading because that's where the value of the coins are. Recently, I was offered some sealed 1958 sets, 14 of them. I get sealed 1958 sets, 14 like this, maybe once every 5 years. Let me cut one open just to give you an idea of what we have to deal with on this 1958. See what comes out. Maybe we'll get a cameo in here, huh? Oh, milk spots. Take a look at this, folks. No cameos. But if you look closely at that 58, look at the milk spot below the date and smaller spots around the head. A very common problem on silver proof coins struck between 1958 and 1964. So to get a proof coin in just high grade for these years is a very big deal because you have milk spot problems, hairline problems. Those are very scarce to get in really high grade. But then to get them in really high grade with Ultra Cameo contrast, that's a whole new level of rarity. There you're talking about the true Everest of rarity when it comes to United States proof coinage. And that's why my book is going to focus on all U.S. proof coins, at least through the silver issues of the larger denominations from 1858 to present. Because we're talking about some great coins with extraordinary rarity and beauty and just tremendous, tremendous potential for all you collectors out there. These are truly, I mean, when we're talking about the hunt for the Holy Grail, this is it, folks. This is what I have today for you. Now, before I price the coins, you take a look at the Ultra Cameo chart for the Franklin half dollars. You can see the 56 Type 2 has 177 coins graded. Most of those are not from top dies, and only about 15 or so are signature series coins. So the 56s, that is the most common Franklin in Proof 69 Ultra Cameo, but again, it's extremely rare. In my 40 plus years of going through hundreds of thousands of 1956 proof sets, I've only located one 1956 in Proof 69 Ultra Cameo, and that was about 25 years ago. They're extremely rare. The other date I have here is the 1962, only 59 graded. But again, these are all Proof 69 Ultra Cameos. These are not signature series coins. And then the 1963, there's 30 coins. And the 64 Type 2, only 172. And we get to the 1969, 1,209, but most of those are not signature series quality. Then we get to the 71S, only 78 coins. 71, that was the first year that the Kennedy was struck on 100% clad planchet. So there were very few struck with Ultra Cameo contrast because of the hardness of that clad planchet. And then 72 was 657. And then you see at the very bottom there, the 1978S Kennedy. To date, they've graded 376 coins in Proof 70 Ultra Cameo. But then you look down, when we skip 30 years, you can see the 2008, as technology improved, how many more have been graded in Proof 70 Ultra Cameo? The 2008, over 2,200 coins. Now let's get to the coins. The 1956 Type 2 Signature Series that I have. An exceptional example, not from a top die, but an exceptional specimen is only $4,995, or 3 payments of $1,665. And then we get to the next 56 off the top die. And again, if you purchase any one of these, you'll get a limited edition of Cameo and Brilliant Proof coinage. Now this is die RT31, simply because when you look in this book, picture number 31 is that die right here. That's the die, the early strike off that die, a top die with higher registry value. I have 4 of these examples. RT31, $6,795, or 3 payments of $2,265. The 1962 I have is phenomenal. Folks, it's night and day. Look at that 62 and 9 Ultra Signature Series. You're getting the best. The coin is only $7,400. Or 3 payments of $2,466.67. And then the next coin, the 1963, extremely rare, only 30 graded. Look at it, how cameo this coin is, folks. It's at the pinnacle of cameo contrast for the date. It's extremely rare that with this level of cameo contrast, obverse and reverse. Extremely rare. It's only $13,995, or 3 payments of $4,665. And then the 64 Kennedy is $5,395, or 3 payments of $1,798.33. Then we get to the 69S Kennedys. They're only $495. The 71S Kennedy, extremely rare. I only have 3 of these. Extremely rare. The first year of the clad Kennedy, to get this kind of cameo contrast, obverse and reverse, one of the great rarities in the early Kennedy series, only $4,195, or 3 payments of $1,398. And then we get to the last Kennedy, the 1972S. And again, these are all preferred client special prices. This is regularly a $329 coin. We've got it for $299 for our preferred clients. And then finally at the very bottom, if you want to get yourself a Proof 70 Ultra Cameo, again, now we're in the modern era now. Proof 69 Ultra Cameos, Proof 70 Ultra Cameos are the norm when we get into the modern era. Now, again, when we get into 1977, 78, this is the modern era when they were using sandblasting technology to create the cameo effect. The production technology was so superior to just a few years earlier. So these coins are scarce, but they don't have the same kind of rarity as those earlier Proof 69 Ultra Cameos. And these are only $195 a coin. $195 a coin. There you have it. If you're building a Kennedy set, you're going to want the later dates. So certainly you're going to want to get these in Proof 70 Ultra Cameo. But it's those early dates in 69 Ultra Cameo that are the keys to this collection. And those Franklins that you see, again, I have a vast inventory of the United States proof coinage. And again, of all denominations, pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars, you add them all up, I believe I have fewer than 100 coins of all those denominations added up, struck between 1950 and 1971, that grade Proof 69 Ultra Cameo. That is the holy grail, the ultimate for proof coinage of this era. And again, from every coin you purchase, if it's a less expensive coin like the 1978 S and 70 or the 72S in 69 Ultra Cameo, you'll get a revised second edition. But if you get one of the earlier dates that are higher priced, like the 71S or any of the Franklins or the 64 Kennedy, you'll get the limited edition that you see here, which is has the gold printing on it with your purchase. And in future episodes, I will be covering the other denominations in Ultra Cameo condition. As you saw from the chart, the Washington quarters, Roosevelt dimes, Jefferson nickels, Lincoln cents, there's a lot of extremely rare coins in high-grade Ultra Cameo. Many coins that are non-existent in 69 Ultra Cameo. Some coins that don't even exist in any grade Ultra Cameo. So stay tuned. This is a most exciting adventure we're embarking on. This is the hunt for the Holy Grail of 1972 and earlier United States proof coinage. It's got to be exceptional for the date and grade with exceptional cameo contrast. Thank you for watching.